request for a government record. Now, we're talking the Arkansas FOIA, but the same thing applies to the federal FOIA. And they say, oh, well, there's a section in there that's exempt, right? We have a series of exemptions. We've got like 27 exemptions. I don't even know if that's the right number. But there are a lot of exemptions in the FOIA already. So for those that are, oh, wow, that's all-encompassing, there's a lot of exemptions. The government can't refuse to give you a record because there's some element in that record that is exempt. They have to redact that. They have to black it out. That's critical. So if they tell you, oh, we can't give, there's one record, well, for example, evaluation, job evaluation records, like your annual evaluation if you work for the government. Those are entirely exempt, the whole record. But generally, a type of record is not exempt. A type of information is exempt. So if that type of information is exempt, and it's in a record, they've got to cross it out and give you the rest of the record. The FOIA does not require the government to create a record, but redacting a document is not the creation of a record. That's their obligation.
Yeah, he was talking about exemptions. There's one exemption particularly that dramatically has affected me. I was in prison for 4 years for a crime I did not commit. And in that process, I tried to contact the local police department. I wrote them letters, I sent FOIA requests, the whole 9 yards. One of the exemptions, of course, is if you're incarcerated, you're exempt. Now, ultimately, I kept harassing them and got my records, and in those records was the one piece that overturned my case. Now, the FOIA, that exemption, I mean, I have a complaint against that part of the FOIA, but what can we do now to change that? Because there's a lot of people that are sitting in prison that are still fighting their cases, and due process requires that, that ability, and I'm not here to say whether they're guilty or they're innocent.
Of course.
But, in that police file that I was exempted from, what can we do to get the transparency so that people are able to get those records?
I've never been a fan of that exemption, or any exemption that tells you as a citizen you're not entitled to that type of right. There's a debate going on now whether incarcerated prisoners should be able to vote, right? I don't know. You decide whether you think that's a good idea or not. But transparency? Why does a prisoner lose a right to transparency? Now, what I can tell you is the prison officials come and say, well, we get all these requests from these prisoners who have all this time on their hands, they sing a good story, and ultimately it boils down to the same issue that we've been talking about, government actors telling you that it's too hard for them to do their job. So they got themselves an exemption. What can we do? We can support the change of the law. Here's the interesting thing. How often do you see a legislator or a lobbyist come in and make a suggestion to change the FOIA to diminish the scope? Almost invariably. How often do you see a legislator come in and seek to expand the scope of the FOIA? I did it. Not as a legislator, I did it with a legislator this past session. We weren't successful, but I did it. We did it. Those are the kind of laws I'd like to talk about. I'm not saying I support every expansion. I think some of the exemptions make sense. I'm not a fan of that exemption. I'm sorry? We had a hand up here, and then we'll come back.
The question.
Oh, okay. Well, let's start here. We'll work our way back, okay?
When I was in office, they actually made that change to the FOIA, making it so that a prisoner could not request FOIA information without having a lawyer. The exception there is if they actually had a lawyer, then that document would have to be honored. But while in office, I had a prisoner that requested information, and because of the changes in the FOIA, I wasn't sure if actually giving this guy the information would cause me to be in violation of another law. So I approached Dan Shue, and he asked me pretty much, was complying with this going to cause me any hardship? And I said, no, it's a reasonable thing that they're asking for. So we both agreed that complying with it would be easier than not complying, because then it just gets rid of the entire problem. So my office actually did comply with giving information to people that are incarcerated. But unfortunately, it probably wasn't the office that he was asking for information.